Imagine two people leaving the same test. One barely understood the questions, but walks out convinced they did pretty well. The other answered almost everything correctly, but keeps thinking about the few problems they might have missed. This gap between actual performance and perceived performance is where the Dunning-Kruger effect begins. At its core, the effect describes a specific kind of miscalibration. People with low ability in a particular area often give themselves overly positive ratings in that same area. It is not simply arrogance, and it is not a claim that some people are generally foolish. It is about how hard it can be to judge your own skill when the skill you need to perform well is closely related to the skill you need to evaluate performance accurately. The Dunning-Kruger effect was formalized in 1999 by psychologists David Dunning and Justin Kruger. Their original research looked at areas like logical reasoning, grammar, and social skills. Participants completed tasks, then estimated how well they had performed compared with others. The striking pattern was that lower performers often overestimated their results. Someone near the bottom of the score distribution might believe they were around average or even above average. This did not mean they thought they were world-class experts. The effect was subtler. They lacked enough understanding of the task to recognize how many mistakes they had made. Their confidence was not built on evidence, it was partly built on missing information. A common misunderstanding is that the Dunning-Kruger effect means unintelligent people are always overconfident. That version is too broad and too sloppy. The actual idea is domain-specific. A person can be highly competent in one field and badly misjudge themselves in another. A skilled engineer might overestimate their ability to debate medical research. A talented writer might assume they are also a strong investor. A careful doctor might be overconfident about driving in dangerous conditions. The bias is not a permanent personality label. It appears when someone lacks skill in a particular area and also lacks the knowledge needed to see the limits of their skill. The effect is usually measured by comparing self-assessment with objective performance. Researchers might ask participants to take a quiz, complete a reasoning task, or perform a practical skill. Afterward, participants estimate their score or rank themselves against others. Their estimates are then compared with the actual results. This method matters because the Dunning-Kruger effect is not just about someone saying, "I feel confident." It is about a measurable mismatch between perception and performance. If a person performs poorly but predicts a strong result, that mismatch reveals overestimation. If a high performer predicts only an average result, that reveals a different kind of underestimation. Since the original research, similar patterns have been studied across many settings: business, politics, medicine, driving, aviation, school exams, literacy, and spatial memory. These examples show why the effect is so interesting. It does not belong only in classrooms or trivia tests. It can appear anywhere people must evaluate their own ability. A new manager may think they are excellent at giving feedback while their team experiences confusion. A driver may believe they are safer than average while ignoring risky habits. A student may think they understand a chapter because the words look familiar, only to discover during an exam that recognition is not the same as mastery. One major explanation is called the metacognitive explanation. Metacognition means thinking about your own thinking, monitoring what you know, noticing errors, and judging how well you are doing. In many tasks, the skills needed to succeed are also the skills needed to recognize success. If you do not understand grammar, you may not notice why your sentence is wrong. If you do not understand logic, a flawed argument may sound convincing. If you do not know what expert performance looks like, your own weak performance may seem acceptable. Low performers may therefore be trapped twice: they make mistakes, and they lack the tools to detect those mistakes. This creates an uncomfortable paradox. Learning a little can sometimes reduce confidence rather than increase it. At the very beginning, a task may look simple because the hidden complexity is invisible. As people gain experience, they start noticing exceptions, standards, and subtle differences. They become more aware of what they do not know. This is why a beginner might speak with total certainty, while an intermediate learner hesitates. The hesitation is not necessarily weakness. It may be a sign of improved awareness. In many domains, genuine competence brings a better sense of uncertainty, because experts can see details that novices do not even know to look for. The term can also refer to the tendency of high performers to underestimate their abilities. This happens for different reasons. Skilled people may assume that tasks they find easy are easy for everyone. If a programmer solves a bug quickly, they may not realize how much specialized knowledge made that solution possible. If a strong student understands a concept immediately, they may believe most classmates understood it just as fast. High performers also tend to see the full scale of excellence above them. Because they compare themselves to experts, they may underestimate how far ahead they are of beginners. Their self-assessment can be inaccurate, but in the opposite direction. Not everyone agrees on how strong the Dunning-Kruger effect is or how it should be interpreted. One criticism points to statistical explanations. If people generally believe they are better than average, and if scores naturally vary, then some of the pattern may emerge from measurement effects rather than a special failure of insight among low performers. Another argument is that self-assessment is simply harder for people clustered at the lower end, because many low scores can be very similar. Small differences in ability may be hard to judge. These critiques do not necessarily erase the effect, but they remind us that a famous psychological idea can be real, exaggerated, mismeasured, or partly explained by multiple forces at once. Another explanation focuses on prior beliefs. People often enter a task with an existing story about themselves. I am good with people, I am a natural leader, I am great under pressure, or I have common sense. If that story is overly positive, it can shape self-assessment after the task. Instead of carefully updating based on evidence, a person may interpret ambiguous results in a way that protects the original belief. This is a rational explanation in the sense that people may be combining prior beliefs with limited feedback, but if the priors are too optimistic, the final judgment becomes distorted. Confidence can persist because the evidence never feels clear enough to overturn the self-image. The practical consequences can be serious. Inaccurate self-assessment can lead people to make decisions they are not prepared for. Someone may choose a career path without recognizing a skill gap. A person may take risks in driving, medicine, aviation, or finance because they believe their judgment is better than it is. In workplaces, overconfident low performers may resist training because they do not see why they need it. The danger is not just poor performance, it is poor performance combined with low motivation to improve. If you do not realize you are missing something, you are less likely to seek feedback, practice deliberately, or ask for help. The best response to the Dunning-Kruger effect is not to assume everyone else is biased and you are immune. The effect is most useful as a mirror. In areas where you have little experience, treat confidence as a weak signal. Look for objective feedback, test scores, expert review, real-world outcomes, and comparison with clear standards. Ask what mistakes a skilled person would notice that you might miss. Break vague confidence into specific claims, not I am good at this, but can I perform this task under these conditions, with this level of accuracy? Competence grows when feedback becomes harder to avoid and easier to learn from. The Dunning-Kruger effect is powerful because it describes a deeply human problem. We must use our minds to judge the quality of our own minds. Sometimes that works well. Sometimes the very thing we lack is what we would need in order to notice the lack. But the lesson is not that confidence is bad. Confidence can help people act, learn, and persist. The lesson is that confidence should be calibrated. The more complex the domain, the more we need feedback, humility, and evidence. When competence and confidence grow together, self-assessment becomes less like a guess and more like a skill of its own. If you found this helpful, please like this video and subscribe for more explainers.